All right, April 8th, 2020. We had a beautiful trading range day. I say beautiful because it wasn't easy to trade. This is my breakdown, and but I'm actually going to use this chart to talk through what I think is happening, as opposed to this. I mean, yeah, this is interesting too, but I think it's actually very messy and not very easy to read. So I'm probably going to stop putting those colors in per se. Um, all right. So just to kind of look at things, let's look at the, and I hope this thing is on. Yes, it is. Perfect. All right. So let's look at the high time frame. Um, if we start off with the 4 hour, clearly I don't have enough data on this. So okay, let's go back to the 5 minute. Um, what am I doing? All right, so we'll go back to the 5 minute time frame, and I'll use a different chart. Okay, so let's do it on Thinkorswim instead, and we'll go into the 4 hour. So let me. Um, I drew some zones on the Thinkorswim chart just to. I'm going to take these highlights off. All right, so we've been in this obviously last week or the week before. We had this beautiful bull breakout, had a nice wedge top, and whenever you have a wedge top, um, that means that you're about to transition into a trading range, and the wedge top support is usually the first pullback, and resistance is usually the high of the wedge top. And whenever price makes the third high, you get a bear breakout through the moving average, and you have a pullback, another one pullback, and maybe a third um, level. So today, without even looking at this, you can see we've gone into this trading range, and I just noticed today we made this high. So we have this bear breakout here, and you can imagine on this day, obviously we had the news, not the news, but the FOMC thing kind of screwed up everything. But it's what always happens on FOMC days, it just kind of messes up the charts. Nice double bottom, new high, went sideways, and then we had the wedge. So technically you should be going down, and that's what we're expecting today. We're expecting a bear trend, or at least a bear breakout. So let's look at the 1 hour chart, and let's look at what has been happening. So again, bear trend, bull bull wedge, down, bear wedge, bear leg in the trading range. And it's funny because you can see it into the Globex session, so I'm actually going to put the highlights back on just for this particular session. So this is the FOMC move, created a bear breakout, went down, nice wedge bottom, went up, wedge top, went down yesterday, and then we had a wedge bottom which actually broke this low. So we came back here and tested this low. So we had a double bottom, and then we now had a massive bull breakout, pullback, and then made the third high, and now we have wedge top. Um, and so what you expect is for price, I mean, you had two levels, but anyway, that's interesting. So what you expect is for price to come down one leg, pull back, second leg. So this was where we opened. So expecting price to pull back and then head down. But instead we had this massive bull run, came to the top, did not take this high out, and then started coming down. So it's a trading range, and we've kind of been in between these ranges. So now let's go back to this chart. So remember the massive bull run? This is a bull breakout, pullback, 1, 2, 3. And so what you now have is you can almost call it a bull trend if you like. But remember what I said, whenever you have a, a wedge top, you are transitioning into a trading range. So this is the level of the range. So it makes sense that we came down here and we created this low. It makes a lot of sense that that happened. But when I was trading it, I wasn't thinking of it that way. If anything, I was expecting price to come all the way down here and just be a massive bear trend. But I completely disregarded how strong this was, to the point where it made sense that we'll get into this range. And if anything, that's exactly what's happened. If anything, price came down, tested this low, and then you had this all the way up. In fact, it was like you had 4 legs up, 1, 2, massive bull breakout, 3, 4. Technically, what I think the way I see it is, this was the trading range here from this, but we had and this would have been the wedge, 1, 2, 3, and then we would have sold off from here, right? Maybe the next pullback. However, this was a breakout above the wedge, so it's almost like we're going for a measured move. And if anything, maybe, I mean, there was another measured move, but maybe it's wrong tool. This measured move could have been this. Didn't really do that, so I'll just use this instead, the bodies. As you can see, that was there. I mean, I guess you could also say there was a measured move based on the breakout of that, or even the breakout of that. And it's, again, another really good measured move. But anyway, the point is, we had a breakout above the wedge, and this became a measuring gap. So I remember when I looked at this and I said, are we starting a bull trend here? But the thing is, what I always have to remind myself is this: if we get a pullback, then we're now in the pullback phase. We're now back into this phase, or rather this phase. And I think what I was really worried about when I took this short was, well, I was aware of the fact that if we have a measured gap like this, chances are we could go higher. But also, and I didn't even think about that, but yeah, we were going to go higher. I said measuring gap, so we were going to go higher. And this was the measured move. So taking a short here wasn't a good idea. But not just because of that. This is such a tight channel, such a strong breakout. The first reversal will be minor. So it wasn't a good idea going short here in the first place. But anyway, I went short, got stopped out at the highs. And then we now had this. I was expecting 3 legs up. I actually thought we would have 1 pullback, 2 pullback, and then 3. But again, trading range top did not consider that. But now looking at it, I realize that actually it makes sense now, because this is a trading range. Because we're now coming down. This is a double top of the trading range, and we're coming down again to test this low. So that makes a lot of sense, and possibly this could be the higher low, and if it is a higher low, it could be a major trend reversal, because we do have technically 3 legs: 1 pullback, 2 pullback, 3, or you could say 1 pullback, 2 pullback, 3. Yeah, it's so important to read the market, and you have to constantly, I mean, as a price action trader, you have to always resort to what do you know happens all the time. When you have a bull breakout like this, and then you go into a trading range, and then this comes down here, and then you now have a break of the range, what do you expect? I mean, this was climatic, so it was very unsustainable, but we only had 2 legs up. Well, I think maybe this was 1, 2, or maybe 3, God knows. Yeah, so this was a very interesting day. Just bear on the fact that this is not a hard day to trade, but it's the mindset of how you want to trade it. You really need to be comfortable with the idea of placing your stop far away, especially when you're trading a trading range. That's usually what you need to do. Yeah, so this idea was something that I just did not. I mean, I saw the double bottom, but didn't really think about price dropping, like, you know, this itself being the target. I mean, after all, that is exactly what we have on the 4-hour chart. I'm just going to bring that chart back up again, and if we look, whenever we have a wedge, this area is always the target. In fact, we've not actually reached it. We still have one more leg down, maybe. But it's always the case whenever you have a wedge. I mean, you have a wedge, target is usually here, and then after that, things change. So that was something that I look at it now and I'm like, actually, it wasn't too difficult. When you see this strong breakout, and then you have a strong reversal, it means that there are buyers here. This is support. If anything, if you're in a trading range, you want to be going higher. All right, so yeah, so that was definitely something to learn. That was definitely something. I put this here because I thought, hey, what would have happened if I said I went short here, went for 10 points, and I put my stop up here with only one contract? Yes, that would have given me $50. And then what? Traded again a second contract, I don't know, over here with that same stop for another 10 points. I guess it would have been good. I probably would not have, I don't know. I'm not really sure. But because when you think about it, the analysis of this says that this is not a good short. This is a better short. Sort of doing this for a while. He had an endless pullback over here. He actually had 3 legs up. One, hang on, how was it? Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. And so this was a good short, big bar. So now I'm exploring the idea of using limit orders to take the trade. So I'll show an example of what I mean. Here we go. This is the same chart. So nice bear breakout, but just putting your stop up here and then just looking for a 50% retracement. Hopefully you would get one. Because you have two-sided trading, maybe you should, but if you do get one, that would be great, because this is such a big bar, and you don't want to risk that much. Excuse me. But if you don't, it's still fine. It's fair game, because say you have another bear bar hitting here, that's actually a good. That's a high, more probable short. Maybe something like this. We should get another leg down, but of course we had this. So yeah, that was a pretty good day. In terms of understanding price action, there were some trades that I took randomly, which I took out of emotion, and did not like how I was trading. And I noticed I've been doing that recently. When I know I'm not supposed to trade, I take a trade and I get emotional. And there's nothing wrong with being emotional. Actually, it's actually understanding what the emotions are telling you, or how you can use that to your advantage. That's really important. Oh, excuse me. I just noticed something. Did we have a channel here? Yes, we did. Beautiful. So all this time, all this time we had this. I just never ever read it that way. But it's interesting when you see how prices move, especially now you have this brick here. We're probably going down and then maybe up. I don't know. We'll see. Right, that's my recap for today, and we'll see how it goes next week.